Hey friends, you are crafting with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do for months. We are going to take an Epson EcoTank printer and we're going to turn it into a sublimation printer. So for those of you that don't know what sublimation is ink. So basically, instead of cutting out vinyl and HTV and putting it on your craft projects, this is where you're going to print the design all at one time and then apply it to those items with heat. So this is so exciting. I love my HTV, I love doing vinyl, I love all of those projects, and this is just going to be adding to that. So I'm going to actually use my Cricut Easy Press to heat. I don't have the big, heat presses that other people might have. I am just doing this for fun, and so I'm going to use my Cricut Easy Press. And for those of you who are thinking about you want sublimation for like a business, like you want to do high volume things, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that as well. So we're going to hop over to the craft table and we're going to unbox this printer. I'm going to show you how to fill it with ink, and we're going to do a first project. If you have not already, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me for all my future videos. We are going to be doing more sublimation around here. Okay guys, let's get going. Okay, so here we are on the craft table. This is the Epson printer that I'm going to be using today. The important thing when you're buying your printer is that it says EcoTank. This number is not necessarily as important. It just really is identifying all the different features that you can have. The important part is the EcoTank. And then we're going to be using the Hippoo Sublimation ink today. And I do have to tell you that Hippoo provided me this ink for free, but I did research it. It is a good ink. It's available inexpensively on Amazon. So make sure that you give Hippoo a try or give them a look. And then this is the sublimation paper that we'll need. And then I just threw in a couple of the sublimation blanks. So these are the tumblers and mason jars that you can apply ink to, and that's what we're going to be using for our very first project. Okay, let's flip the camera around and have a look at the inside of the box of the Epson EcoTank. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so this is everything out of the box, and so this is what you will find. The printer, which I have to say I'm loving that it's kind of small and compact. It looked much bigger in the box, so this is going to fit in my craft room much better. And then there's a cord, and then there is the ink that comes with it, and this is the Epson ink. Now this is not sublimation ink, not sublimation inks. Do not put it in your printer, please. Okay, so we don't want to use that as a matter of fact, we're just going to toss that away. We're going to dump that. And then these are our instructions with a CD. And then we are going to be putting into this the Hippoo ink. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the tape off of this. By the way, this, I'm not even going to unwrap it yet because I don't want you to plug it in. You cannot plug this in until you get the right ink into the printer. So we're just going to leave this wrapped up and we're going to put that out of the way. So for right now, we're just going to have our printer, we're going to have our instructions, and we're going to have our Hippoo ink. Okay, so now we have all of the packaging off of our printer, and it's really easy, guys. So this is where your paper is going to pop out. We load it in the back. It has 4 tanks. And so what we're going to do is we are going to put our Hippoo ink into the printer instead of the Epson ink that came with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop these out, and they do come vacuum sealed, so you're going to have to cut those open, and they do that because you want to protect the integrity of the ink. So if you have ink left over, and you will, you're going to want to put this back in, I would suggest like a Ziploc bag, and then put it back in a dark place just to keep the ink good. But they come with these little, what looks a lot like when you're giving your kid medicine. But basically what we want to do is we're going to take these needles and we are going to apply it to the end of our syringe, and then we are going to draw out ink and we're going to put it into our ink tank. So let's go ahead and do the black, and I'll show you how easy this is. Okay, so the Hippoo ink comes with gloves. Now you want to wear these gloves because if you get this on your skin, or you get, I've got it sideways, eek. Okay, if you get it on your skin or you get it on your clothes, it's not going to come out of the clothes. For the skin, it's going to take a while. So make sure that you put the gloves on, and then what we want to do, get them on, what we want to do is we want to take our Hippoo ink, take off the lid, and then this nozzle Okay, for one thing, do not squish it. Okay, don't squish the bottle at all. And then the nozzle is flexible, and you want to take your syringe and you just want to tilt your bottle and put it inside. And now you may be able, when it's totally full, to suck it out. Nope. So let's pop that out. I do not want to get air in it. Start over. So then we're going to go at an angle, make sure that you get the needle into the ink, and then just slowly pull it up. Again, a lot like when you're giving your child medicine. Okay. So now we're going to pop that out. Now this is probably going to take a couple of tries, okay? Meaning not a couple of tries. It's going to take a couple of times to fill the ink. So you see this here. These are frosted windows that are showing you how much ink you have in. Okay, so as you fill this with your needle, you're going to be able to tell how full you're getting, but it's probably going to take multiple needles to fill your tank. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop the top. So the little piece just pops off, and then you stick your syringe in. And then you slowly start to fill. Okay, so now that I've filled my black tank, I have a couple of tips for you. So you can see here in the window now that the ink is almost to that line, and I think that by the time it all runs down the inside of the tank, it's going to be at the top fill line, and I don't want to overfill it. So with the ink and the syringe, you do not want to get air in the syringe, because then those bubbles are going to go into your tank and it's going to want to make the ink bubble back out at you. Okay, so don't make my mistake. And then I actually protected my surface with some parchment paper, and I have a damp paper towel on hand just in case there's any little sprays of ink that gets on my printer. So the best way that I found to put your ink in the syringe is to actually put the syringe in, and because it's a snug fit and this is kind of flexible, I'm actually going to lay it on its side, and holding both of them, draw out the ink. And I found that this was the best way to have as few bubbles as possible. And you hear that? I don't know if you could hear that, but it actually caused a little suction. And so now what I want to do is I want to take my syringe, I'm going to pop open the second tank. Then I find that 2 hands works best because I can fill it evenly without jerky motions. When I'm using one hand, I feel like I'm like pushing and then holding and then pushing and then holding. But with 2 hands, I can apply even pressure. Okay, so now I have all of the ink in each of the tanks. We're just going to close these, and we're going to close this little door. And so you can see each of my colors here. Now, whenever you are done with these, you're going to want to store them in a Ziploc bag, cool, dry, dark place to keep the integrity of the ink. And I just want to show you this. You see that this is about how much ink you're going to have left when you fill for the very first time. And then with the syringes, you're going to want to clean those with warm soapy water. And I would, keep them disassembled to dry completely before putting them away. Just 2 other things though. You may want to leave a little bit of ink in them until you do that first test print, just to refill or, top off any of your colors, since the syringes are already dirty or already have ink in them. And the other thing is, and this could totally just be me, but for the black, I felt like it was a little thicker than the other colors. The other colors went in really quickly and easily. It could just be that the black was my very first color, and so I was a little more timid. But just be mindful that you want to go slow, even as you're putting that into your tank so that it does not bubble and you do not make a mess. Okay, so let's go over to the computer and do the setup. So here we are on my computer, and we are setting up the software. Now, if you have an older computer or the access to a CD, you can use the CD to do that. If not, in the instructions, it's going to give you a URL, and you go there to download printer software so that you can print directly from your computer to your new printer. And the one that I have has Wi-Fi, thank goodness. Okay, so once I arrive here, it actually detected my operating system, and so it already loaded it in. If not, there's a drop-down box there so that you can access that. And then what we want is the drivers and utility combo. So we just download and follow the instructions and set that up onto your computer. Okay, so here we are back on the craft table. I have my printer all set up and ready to go. I have my sublimation paper, and I'll put links to everything down below in the description in case you want to look at these things. And then I have a mason jar with a special poly coating so that we can sublimate a design onto this. I'm really excited about this. I designed a file for this project, and inside the sublimation paper, I wanted to show you guys, there is a heat guide, and you can use this and it gives you the pressure time and all that kind of thing, but I am actually going to be using my mug press to press this mason jar, and I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. And then on the sublimation paper, of course it's white on the front, and then it actually has writing on the back so you don't mistakenly put it in the wrong way. So you put it face front into the printer, and then we will wirelessly print it from my computer. Okay, so real quick before I send this to print, I just wanted to show you guys, I took it out of the plastic, and it's kind of like normal laser paper, right? So we're going to place it in the back, and one thing I did want to tell you guys is when you print sublimation, it comes out somewhat muted. So when it prints, it's going to look more muted than it does when it actually goes on to the substrate that you chose, because the heat brings out that pop of color. So when this comes through, don't be disheartened by it not being super vibrant. It's just the way that the ink works. Okay, one last thing on this Epson printer. If you are wanting to do this as a hobby, this printer is good. This printer is fine. If you want to do this sublimation as a business, I would suggest that you look into the Sawgrass printer. It is much more capable of high volume, and I think will serve you much better. And I'll put links down below in the description for you to check out the Sawgrass as well. Okay, so you are ready to print your design. I am putting links down in the description below to some websites where you can get some great designs. For this particular project, I'm actually going to use designs that are available in Cricut Design Space, and I'll link up above a separate video if you are a Cricut user showing you how to do that. But if not, you can grab any design. Just make sure that when you print it, you mirror image that design. Make sure that it says flip horizontal or mirror image. Okay, so let's hop over to the craft table. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are the things I'm going to be using. So this is our printout, our sublimation printout, and if you notice, it's a very muted color. It's supposed to be that way. The heat will bring out the color. If you've used infusible ink, it's much the same thing where the designs look muted, and then when you apply the heat, it gets very vibrant. And I also have heat-resistant tape. I have my paper trimmer because we want to trim this design out and apply it to the mug with heat-resistant tape, because if you recall, this is the bounding box that Cricut prints when you're going to use your Cricut machine to cut it. Well, we don't need the bounding box because we're not going to cut it. We're just going to trim out that design and apply it to the mug. And I have a Cricut mug that's great for sublimation as well. I have my lint roller and then butcher paper to protect my Cricut mug press in case there's any bleed. Okay, so let's move everything out of the way and we'll go ahead and cut out our design. Okay, so this is really simple. This sublimation paper is a lot like laser paper, so if you were using the infusible ink pens and things. So we're just going to trim off the bounding box, and then we're just going to use the heat-resistant tape to apply the design to our mug. So I cut out all three pieces, and then what I've done is I've laid them back down in their pattern. Now, if I were printing this on my printer just straight from Illustrator or a design that I put together, then I wouldn't have to do this. But because I took this from Cricut and they only print in certain sizes for print then cut, I'm just going to tack these three together. And with this pattern, I was able to just use my ruler and line up the little wheels so I know that each of them are in the correct correct location. And in that separate video, when I go over this design with you, I'm going to teach you how to do a pattern from any image in Cricut Design Space so you can do fun things like this too. Okay, so I have laid these together. I'm just going to use my heat resistant tape and tape these together, and then we'll go ahead and apply it to the mug. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take my lint roller and I want to roll my mug. You always want to do this to make sure you don't have any lint anywhere on your surface so that you don't have to worry about ink adhering to the lint and then having spots on your design. Okay, so as I was putting this on the mug, I realized that my pattern, I had centered it, and my design needs to go on the front of my mug. So all I did was I moved my pattern piece to the back side. I did measure it just to make sure that my little buses are still in the right spots, and then I used my heat resistant tape to tape those down. So then when I wrap it around my mug, and we'll make this good and snug, when I wrap it around, I have an excess of about 1.5 inches, and so I just marked and snipped it with a pair of scissors as to where I want that to end. And when you're in Cricut Design Space, you can use the mug template. The thing is you're still gonna have to, if you wanna do the pattern, you're gonna have to break it out. But we could have just done this front piece and put a little bus on it, and then you wouldn't have to do all of this, but again, I just really love the pattern. So, okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snip off this one little piece, and then we will adhere it to the mug. Okay, now what I want to do, now that I have my mug all together, what I want to do is I want to take 3 layers of butcher paper. Butcher paper is pretty inexpensive, but this is just a great way to protect our mug press. So I'm just going to wrap it around, and then I can snip that off. I want to make sure that none of that ink comes out and gets on my mug press. I have a video that I'll link up above that's all about how to use the Cricut mug press, but just so you know, for those of you who haven't watched that yet, this is a easy press mat, and this mug handle is not going to get hot. I'm going to put it in the mug press, but the mug itself will be hot, and so when I take it out of the mug press, I'm going to put it on this mat just to protect my surface. Okay, so mug press, super simple. We're just going to take that design, we're going to place it into the mug, press, okay, and then we're just going to close the press. And as soon as you close that press, it starts the process. So this is going to take roughly 6 minutes, and then once that is done, we're going to want it to cool for 15 to 30 minutes. Okay, so the mug has completely cooled, and now it's time for our big reveal. So we're just gonna pull the tape away. See how it did. So excited. Okay. And so then that was my butcher paper. And then that was my heat resistant tape. I taped it up good, didn't I? Oh my goodness. Oh my stars, how stinking cute did that turn out? And we put pattern in the lettering and stuff, and the patterning in a different pattern. We had polka dots in the offset around it, and then we have all the little buses. It is so sweet. And see, then our pattern goes all the way around. Oh my gosh, I am totally in love. Okay, so creating the mason jar project is very similar to what we just did, and if you want to go through it step by step, I am creating another video for that, and I'll place that link above. Okay, so what did you think? So I really want to hear from you, so down in the comments below, let me know. Did you like sublimation? Do you think this is something you would do? Do you think absolutely not? I want to know what you think about this whole series of craft projects. And by the way, I want to know if you want to see more of this on my channel. And I put links down below to all of the things that we used today. So if you do want to go ahead and get started, all of that is down below. And if you have questions about it, not just comments, but questions, leave those for me too. I'll do my very best to answer you, and I will see you guys next time.